What's going on, guys? How you doing? We are on instrument techs section of this documentary, instrument techs, and it's I cut it up into 3 parts, and hopefully this may be the most. I'm guessing that this will be the most interesting to more people because it has to do with the instruments and the things that these people are playing and all that. We're not talking about lights. Lights is cool. Sounds cool. And then also there's video, which may be less cool. And then also road manager, which also may be less cool. We'll see. We'll find out. We're gonna see what they're all just different jobs, different things that go on with this. So we're gonna find out. Still not really seeing. There was one lady that I saw. In the one wearing the red jacket. She was on stage. I wonder if she was local or if she was part of the crew. But when they said 40 men and women, I was just like, wait a minute. Hang on a second. I've not seen women yet. There's been no women. Not that I'm, making a statement about that. I'm more just making an observation. If it's not men and women, just say men. Anyways, all right. So, instrument techs. This is what we're on. If you're new here, please subscribe. Check out my videos, all kinds of videos, playlists, lots of stuff. Check it out. If you like the channel, all kinds of ways to support. I also do donation requests. All that information is in the description below. Check it out. Okay, instrument techs. Let's, part 1. Let's do this. Bam.
You feel pressure every day. You want to make sure everything's perfect.
I figure I have probably the best gig in live music.
I know I've done a good job when Geddy never says anything to me.
We get to travel around the world and make people happy. What better job can you have than that?
You get the rush from the time the band takes the stage.
The legendary Canadian rock band Rush has enjoyed an impressive record-breaking career that has spanned 3 decades and produced over 30 albums. All the while winning the respect of music critics and the hearts of devoted fans around the world. Since releasing their first album back in 1974, Rush has sold over 40 million records. They've toured the world many times over, selling out hundreds of live stadium-rocking shows. When guitarist Alex Lifeson, drummer Neil Peart, and lead vocalist, bassist Geddy Lee go on tour, they bring with them some heavy artillery. 7 tractor trailers hauling an entire stage production. Lights, video, pyro, sound, along with 40 men and women whose job it is to set it all up.
Everything with red tape on the back goes stage right, down stage right.
Run it.
House lights go. 2, 1,
and tear it down. All in the course of a grueling 18-hour day. A rock show can be very stressful. The grueling pace is tough both on the band and their crew. Travel can also take its toll on their gear. The 4 key technicians who keep Rush in tune during this 4-month North American Snakes and Arrows tour are drum technician Lorne Wheaton, bass technician Russ Ryan, guitar tech Bobby Huck, and keyboard specialist Tony Geranios.
Here we are in Montreal today, the lovely Bell Center. We're only 2 hours and 25 minutes into it. We've got the grid up already. Trusses are in the process of being there, probably within 30 minutes.
Keeping a close watch on all the on-stage activity is Neil Peart's drum technician, Lorne "Gump" Wheaton.
One of the first groups that I worked with, not being paid or anything like that, was in high school, and it just happened to be the original Rush, with John Rutsey as the drummer. And they were playing, the school dances, and Geddy and Alex they basically lived in the same area of Toronto as I did. And so they played the school dances, and that was with John as the drummer. And the first time I saw them, there was a coffee house at the high school I went to, and I helped load them in. Altogether, I've been doing this job for probably 36 years. But for Neil, I've been doing it since the year 2000.
I remember Lauren working with Max Webster when we toured together with them. That would be around 1980, and we did a long tour together and toured Europe together with them when Lauren was working for Max Webster. And I can just remember on days off, just hanging out with him and getting to know him then. And then he came back to work with us as a carpenter on Casper Echo tour. And I knew that then he worked with Steve Smith at that time, who was one of the drummers I respect the most. And Jerry Mercer also with April Wine. We were friends all that time before we'd worked together. And then we started working together on Vapor Trails during the recording and then on the subsequent tour. And became, that much closer friends apart from the working relationship, which is so important in such an intimate relationship like that.
We get along very well. The first tour I did with him, we were still sort of searching each other out, and even though we did know each other, but it's a whole different thing when you're one-on-one with the person.
The Rush backline is one of the last elements of this stage show to be assembled, and it is the first to be packed away for transport at the end of each performance. As a result, the instrument technicians travel together on the same tour bus, and usually are the last members of the road crew to arrive at the venue.
We arrive usually around 10:30, and sometimes I don't get to work until 1:30. My whole world is center stage, and until the lighting rig goes up in the air, I really can't do anything. The techs, the guitar techs and the keyboard techs, they have their stations off the stage. So I have another drum set that I set up in the Bubba Gump room, which is Neil's dressing room, which he has a practice drum set in. But that takes all of about 10 minutes to do. It's about maybe a quarter of the size of the stage kit. Hey guys, welcome to Bubba Gump. Come on in. This here is where Neil practices before the show. The giant drum set you see is about a quarter of the size of the tour kit, but he still has fun on it, of course. This is where he spends exactly 20 minutes before the show, before going in and hooking up with the other two guys and prepping for the show in the dressing room. This is what I do before I get to stage. I'll come in and there's a case that houses all this all this little drum set. So I come in usually around 10:30, 11 o'clock, and our production staff will find me a room, which we call the Bubba Gump room. Bubba being Neil, Gump being myself, because I was named. Geddy was the one that came up with the name because of Lauren Gump Worsley in the old days. But I will come in here, set the drum kit up, tune it, play a little bit just because, it's fun to do it. And that'll be my first job of the day. And then I wait for the lighting guys to get their equipment up in the air so I can put the drum set on the stage.
My first tour was in 1988 with a band called Pretty Boy Floyd on MCA Records. I gave a friend of a friend a ride to a studio, and he actually was working for the band, and I didn't want to go drive
50 miles back to my house, so I said, hey, I'll help you guys load your stuff in if you get me on the show for free. And after the show, the bass player handed me $30 and said, want to go on tour. And that was the start of my touring experience. The first day, I was the lighting director, and after the first show, they said, how about you become the drum tech? So after a couple tours, I started working for bands where I did everything, because they were small bands, they weren't signed, and they need somebody to be the bus driver, the tour manager, the guitar tech, and the whole 9 yards. And from then on, it spawned on to working with other bands like Oingo Boingo and Bonnie Raitt, onto the Dixie Chicks and Bette Midler, and then onto this, and a bunch of other bands in between.
I hired Bucky because he came very highly recommended, and I've always had really, really good techs. I just felt a need for a change on this tour, and as I said, he came highly recommended, and we hit it off immediately, and we've become very, very good friends. And he's done a fantastic job. It's not easy working for me. I'm very particular about what I like, and I am quite emotional, so if there's a problem, I tend to voice it, loudly and proudly. But Bucky's taken it all in stride, and he, I think, understands that I'm looking for a certain thing, and it's hard to compromise that. But he's been absolutely great. I love the guy.
You feel pressure every day. You want to make sure everything's perfect for the guy. You don't want him to go up there and if he has a bad night, you don't want it to be your fault. You know what I mean? You want to make sure that you give him every opportunity to perform at the best of his abilities that you possibly can.
Been with Rush 10 years as Geddy's tech and that, so it's been great. And I just hope the guys go for another 10 years and they keep hiring me. That'd be perfect. I'm just putting the guitar right now for Geddy in the tuning room. Every venue we try to set up a little tuning room for Alex and Geddy of some kind, away from the dressing room, so they got a little bit of privacy. They can warm up before show a little bit. So. This is Geddy's tuning room bass. This is like a custom bass that was sort of made to look old after a Fender Jazz bass. It's not by Fender. It's just some guy that makes these great basses, and that's what we use for his tuning room bass. I was a bit of a musician in my teens and early 20s, and I just didn't want to play guitar. I just realized it wasn't for me, and I took a lot of lessons from great players and stuff, and it just wasn't for me, and I just didn't sort of fell into being a guitar tech. I didn't do it by choice. It just kind of happened, and 25 years later, it's still doing the same thing. I consider Geddy a friend, and he's the kind of guy you can go talk to from personal stuff and obviously and business stuff. And we need to talk about, maybe at the beginning of a tour when we're rehearsing, as like what bass he's going to use for what songs.
I'd say we're friends. It's kind of a working friendship in some circumstances. Like there's a lot of guys on the crew that I only see at the venue ever. I mean, I've got my stage left guys that we kibitz with every day, and we got our own running jokes between them, and Alex has his stage right situation, and so we all have our own little team that we kind of know more about and get more personal with. But I would say we're friends, but in some respects, I guess it's a professional friendship.
See what I mean? Yeah, that's better right there. Now, makeup, powder. We're gonna be a little tapped here. We'll get done now. Depends on how quick the lighting goes up.
While the rest of the backline technicians continue to set up their work zones, Lauren Wheaton anxiously stands by, waiting for the lighting grid to clear the stage so he can begin assembling the extensive drum kit.
Yeah, right? Like, geez. Yeah, that guy's got to hustle sometimes, huh? I wonder.
The lighting
7.5
truss
hours.
assembly is now officially running behind. That means that drum technician Lauren Wheaton can't
Probably
get
happens
started
all
on
the
setting
time.
up Neil Peart's massive drum kit. Meanwhile, the remaining 3 instrument technicians are able to continue their work, including Geddy Lee's keyboard technician, Tony Geranios.
Watch out, I'm feeling a little tipsy today. Coffee, I could spill. I started with the band in '77.
Wow.
When they first started headlining their shows, they had to kind of make a position for me because keyboard at that point weren't very extensive. So I was working with Liam Burt, doing guitar maintenance, tuning for Alex, and in between that, maintaining the keyboards they
Looks
had.
like some wire hangers.
This is Geddy's keyboard system I'm setting up right now. There are 2 areas that he uses his keyboards at, or the controllers. One at the keyboard, and then this position here, which has a set of pedals. So during the show, he'll play the pedals, MIDI controller here, and sing. Then during songs that require other keyboard parts, the MIDI controller, he'll be here with also a microphone set up. There are basically 3 controllers he's using. The 2 sets of pedals, and I have a Roland keyboard, which is 5 octave. And this is the main controller. The other keyboard he has is this Moog product. It's a digital mini Moog. Analog front end, so you can sculpt your sounds any way you want. Very, very similar to the original mini Moog. Sounds amazing.
Cool. Nice. Yeah, getting into instruments. Geddy's like, Geddy's tech is like, oh yeah, we're friends. We're friends. Geddy's like, yeah, we're friends, kind of. I guess we could say we're friends. It's more of a working relationship. I kind of keep them at arm's length, you know, I let them tell me things about them, but I don't really share much about me, except for the bird watching. I let them know about different kinds of birds because, you know, birds are my life outside of this. So, all right. Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, I mean, this is definitely a whole different thing. Certainly seems a lot easier and less crazy than the sound and the lights. This is just like you're just dealing with these instruments, and they've got tons of instruments, right? I mean, Geddy and Alex have all these guitars and basses and, right? Which, I mean, maybe a lot to kind of work through, but not really. I'm saying that just in terms of like, if something happens to one, you have all these others. And I'm sure that they can get others like that, right? Pretty much anywhere that they're at. They don't need it. I'm sure that they travel with enough that it's not even a thing. I wonder if the tuning bass was a Nash I don't remember when Nash started, but they did that whole, you know, Fender copies, but road worn, right? And that's kind of what he was describing, but he didn't say what the brand was. He just said it wasn't Fender. What else? It's interesting, you know, when these guys and they travel and they have like their different like names for things, like that Bubba Gump room, right? All those like personal things or like the joke kind of things, the inside kind of things. And even Getty is saying, you know, they have their own like inside jokes that they, you know, personal jokes that they always say or whatever. Tourists, they have that. It's like just a way of, I suppose, dealing with having a system, but also dealing with the monotony of just like, all right, we're at the next place. All right, we're doing the same thing at the next place, doing the same thing. All right, where's the bubblegum room? Here. Oh, bubblegum room's over here. He's got a little sign for it. And these guys, just like I said during the sound, the guitar tech, it's just like side musicians or whatever. It's like, all right, they like touring musicians. It's like, all right, they go from this gig to this gig to this gig to this gig. Maybe some people have like one gig that they've been on. It's like their main gig, right? That they've been on for a long time, different things like that. But all these guys, these techs, it's like, yeah, they just go from one to one to one to one to one. The bass tech worked for them for 10 years. It's like, so far, it's just like the lighting guy. Even the drum tech started with them way back with John Rutsey, which is wild. It's like, what were you doing then? They had like a budget to just pay. Like, what were you doing? You were just like bringing their gear from basically their vehicle, from their car to wherever the stage was or whatever. They were playing high school dances and things like that. Anyways, wild. But so far, it just seems like the lighting guy is like been with them forever, and like sounds like exclusively for them. I mean, he didn't mention, maybe there were times where he was doing other things or whatever, but maybe he didn't mention any of that. Basically made it sound like he's their guy and he's been with them the entire time. So anyways, cool. All right, we're on to Instrument Tech Part 2 coming up. See you then.